welcome to This Is Metal with Tom Collier. I am Jason J. Rock Houston, and today we got a longtime friend of mine as our guest, singer Ronnie Borchert from the band Freakshow. And Ronnie, I'm going to try not to mix up your name because I got to tell Tom and people watching this that you and me first met years ago on MySpace of all places. And at the time, you were going by the name of Marcus Allen Christopher, which the reason you're no longer going by that is because Facebook kind of outed you, and we can get into that later. But since I've got so much history with Ronnie, Tom, why don't you start the interview asking him what you want to ask him?
Okay, sure. So I listened to the Freak Show stuff. I love it. Love it. So it looks like, do you have a different live lineup than you did on the album? I mean, I know Greg and those guys, that Greg played bass with you, but it looked like somebody else. It almost looked like Rick Fox or somebody in a video I seen. Am I correct about that?
You're correct. That's Rick. In that he was recommended by Greg. Greg just wanted to do the album. And, we did the album with him, and it's great. It's like fantastic bass playing. Sometimes when I listen to it, I can't believe it's real. But Rick, he recommended for live gigs. So instead of, doing videos with Greg, getting everyone all hyped up for that, we wanted to introduce Rick that way by putting him in the video.
And of course, Ronnie, the album was just released yesterday, and I've seen people responding to it all over the internet. And so when you get that kind of response, there's got to be, has there been any talk, my question is, for live shows?
Is this lineup for live?
Going on tour, doing any live shows? You think this will be a tour? Do you think it'll be a couple?
Oh yeah. We already have, agencies and are all ready to book us and do all that. But we wanted, we didn't want to start doing that without, some sort of PR and, the video coming out to see that there's a real band, and you know what I mean? Like, people needed to get wind of it, spread the word. I mean, the album just came out yesterday, so, and it hit all the Spotify's and iTunes and Apple Music, all those places. So people now can get it, and it's going to absorb it, and let's just see what kind of response we get. But yeah, we absolutely want to play live shows, but we're gonna do live shows like that are very select. It's not going to be Carlos and Stet and even Rick. They're at they're way older than I am, right? So they've been doing this for a long time, and they're not about getting in a white van and pulling a trailer. Doing club gigs and stuff. So we're gonna wait for the right situation to come along and the right offer, and we'll probably do a support for a bigger band.
And let me say, Ronnie, one thing I've always, I love the way you've always marketed your music. I mean, the music industry is very different today than what it was when we were growing up. And I remember you would put out the Miss Crazy music. You sell a lot of CDs, but you guys released it digitally, and it was all over the internet. And you guys were very popular. Like I said, I first met you on MySpace, and you had kind of built your stuff up from way back when.
Dude, I think about that sometimes. Yeah, and you said it correctly right there. MySpace, I had my personal page, the Marcus Allen Christopher page, with my makeup and my whole profile picture, and then I got to select a song from our main page, the band page, right? So you had two separate pages, and I had over 100,000 on both pages. So we had, MySpace was a major. I mean, it was probably the biggest thing to ever happen, and I see why they shut it down.
Yeah.
Because you were building an empire without anyone really making any money, right? And so Facebook came and destroyed it, and then they limit you to the 5,000 and all that. It's like, make it all difficult. But yeah, those were the days, huh, dude?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's almost sad to see what it's become. MySpace is really a virtual graveyard. I've tried to go back on there and find my site. You can't even find any of the stuff you.
I don't know. Yeah, and you had a player you could play your songs on. Yeah. It was great. I had that for Miss Crazy, and I had that for Freak Show, the first version.
And Freakshow, we should let people know. I don't know if you're aware, Tom, but I think I shared with you. Freakshow had an original lineup, which consisted of Ronnie on vocals, Tony Franklin on bass, Frankie Benelli on drums, um, and the guitar player was Cinderella's Jeff Lepar, who sadly passed away last year. And I understand on the new album, you guys um, pay tribute to Jeff. Let me ask you, was he involved with any of the writing of these songs on the new album?
No, but he was involved in the idea. Jeff and I already were set on stat playing drums. He had a thing he was doing with his son that he was going to release called Labar. I don't know how far he got into that. I think they did do some stuff, but and then we were going to start this new Freakshow thing. We were going to call it Freakshow, and it sucks. Yeah, that really sucked. But he he would have loved this though. Like what we did here, he would have dug it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to get too much into it. I know, but part of the reason you stopped the original Freakshow is Frankie Benelli had threatened some legal action or whatever. And my question is, you put it on hold for all these years, and especially with Jeff's passing, is it almost like not only is it a tribute to him, but is it almost like this is a chance to give the man a second life, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, we did at first. I wasn't sure we were going to call it Freakshow, right? But we just decided to, and the guys in the band were cool with it. And either way, it is what it is now. And it just really sucks that Jeff wasn't a part of it, but everything happens for a reason. But
Sure.
we do a little special tribute inside. There's like, how when you open up the album and the CD, there's a booklet and all that.
Sure.
We gave him a nice little thing in there.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. I really dig it.
Now, let me ask you, Tom, did you get a chance to check out any of the Miss Crazy stuff I sent you to check out?
I actually did. I loved it. It was really cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah, and let me ask.
Doesn't look like the same guy I'm talking to, though. But...
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to point out. He apparently, I wasn't aware of this till I seen him do a recent interview with somebody else, and he's talking about that voice was kind of forced on, and so that's a huge reason why if you listen to the Freakshow stuff and you listen to Miss Crazy, it sounds like two totally different singers. You want to talk a little bit about that, Ronnie?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I discovered that. Let's go back to when I wasn't singing like that. Okay. Cause I was in Amsterdam, lead singer for that band. And, we went on tour with Rat and stuff, and that was really cool. I did, a handful of albums with that band. And then I did a band called Trixie. And then one day, Hell's Bells was on the radio. And I just kind of started like jokingly singing into it. And I was like, whoa, this is a trip. And then I took a shower. This is a true story. And I was in the shower and I started singing Hell's Bells and I could do it.
Wow.
It was a trip because I never did that before. I never tried that. Like later on, I've done all these albums and stuff, and I never tried singing that way. So then I started belting out Cinderella. I tried that. I tried Joe Elliott. And I was like, oh man, I can do this. This is great. So myself and the label just came up with Miss Crazy and the whole name change and face makeup and just sing like this because you've never done this before.
Yeah.
And no one will even know. And no one did, except, my close friends and stuff.
Yeah. And so was Marcus Allen Christopher more of like a character, very much like Alice Cooper says, when I'm on stage, I'm Alice Cooper. When I come on stage, I'm Vince,
Yeah, the alter ego. Yeah, absolutely. The names were fictitious too. Like my brother was named Marcus, my other brother was Christopher, and my middle name is Alan. So I just combined them all.
Oh, cool.
And came up with that name. A lot of people thought it was because of the running back, but it actually wasn't.
Yeah. And then let me ask you, how did you come up with the makeup design? I mean, it's obvious kind of a throwback to Kiss and Alice Cooper, but I'm sure you were influenced by those guys, obviously, but how did you come up with your own specific design?
It started out kind of lame. We looked kind of like mimes at first. And then, we started getting individual stuff and it started growing a little bit. Yeah, it was part of the mystique of hiding who I really was because I already had a career. So coming out with Miss Crazy and starting fresh, it was like, let's just go all the way with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And
It was cool though. It was cool to start fresh and have brand new people, and they didn't connect to any of the other things, you know?
and you know, Ronnie, my co-host Tom here, he's a fellow singer. He fronts a New York-based band, Held Hostage, and very much like you, he's the leader of his band. He's a principal songwriter. So,
Sweet, sweet.
so Tom, from one singer to another, what else would you like to ask? You know, Ronnie, maybe about his guitars or his songwriting.
Sure. So, are you the main? You are the main songwriter in the band, is what I understand, correct?
Yeah, you know, but without these dudes doing what they did.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, what I want to know is who are some of your vocal influences and guitar influences? I sing, lead sing, and play guitar. Actually, the last album I had Ripper Owens sing with me. He sang my whole album for me. We worked together.
Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah.
My like rhythm guitar. Well, let's talk about my guitar playing first. And then I consider myself a songwriter first.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
So I've always been that way with no matter what band I'm in, and then I just do what's best for the song.
Yep.
But as far as guitar playing goes, you know, I learned a lot of my rhythms from like Def Leppard, Metallica, you know, that genre
Yep.
of rhythm playing, you know, Randy Rhoads, Van Halen, all those bands, you know, because you can technically become great without even doing a solo,
Sure.
which I incorporated later. I started doing solos, and I can do solos, but why do solos when you have Carlos Cavazo,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, in this project? And the way he plays on this new album, I never even heard him ever play like that before. He kind of did on the last Rat one, but
Yeah.
he was also playing with Warren DeMartini, which is, you know, now that Ed's gone,
Yeah.
Warren's the guy, right? So, but I think that made Carlos a lot better too, or just challenged him or something, because the stuff he does on this record, I was just like, my eyes were popping out, you know?
You know, Carlos is kind of the guy these days. I mean, he's always been kind of to me, but underrated guy. I mean, even you look at the a Rat album you brought up, Infestation. I mean, the first single off that album was a song Carlos brought in, "Best of Me."
Yeah, he's good, man.
Yeah,
He
and
really
then,
is.
and then you know he's also on the new King Cobra album, and he's on this. So a lot of people are wanting him to come and play on their stuff now.
Yeah. Well, that's up to Carlos. But
And how did you get Stead Howland? Because I mean, he's of course these days in Metal Church. And I tell you, if you've had a chance to check out the latest Metal Church album, I mean, his drum sound is a big part of that album.
yeah, yeah. Stet and I go way back, you know, like over 20 years ago. Um, and we recorded a song for Shaquille O'Neal that ended up on one of my Amsterdam records.
Oh,
and that was the first time it was him and I and Lonnie Vincent.
okay.
And we did this tune, and we've been friends ever since. You know, I kind of monitored his career. You know, he was in Wasp at the time.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
And then, you know, we just hooked up, and, you know, it was long overdue, I think.
And I'm all about encouraging people to go out and get the physical CDs and that, and support your bands, because I still buy physical product myself. I love to read the liner notes, look at the artwork, and like I went on Amazon to purchase out, but I see it's not available there. People can get it like digitally. So I know right now the record selling company is selling CDs. Is that the only place to get it right now?
Um, you know, as far as distribution goes, I don't know. I know you can get it all over Japan,
Okay.
the UK. You can get it, you know, anywhere in the United States through Eonian Records, Canada,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, yeah, they made it. They made CDs and records too. So, and it's on every digital platform.
That's great. So when did you start writing these songs that appear on this new CD?
Well, the idea came about a year ago, and then, you know, as the year went on, I really didn't have a lot of stuff. I started recording like little riffs with my phone, and then those turned into, you know, what the album is. And I really, I really didn't have anything. I was supposed to do the scratch tracks to send Stet,
Yeah.
and I had like a week to prepare. So I just started going through my phone and all these ideas, and I came up with those 10.
It's
And
kind of interesting because to me, even though it's been another year since the first Freakshow album came out, it almost sounds like a progression, you know, a natural progression, even though it's different players. Maybe a lot of that has to do with the fact that you are the principal songwriter. I think almost this will be like the album where you're kind of maybe define the band sound, if you will.
yeah, well, going back to Tom's question about the singers, you know, as far as influences go, you know, my guitar playing, uh, you know, kind of shows on this album because all the rhythms are pretty solid of my guitar ideas and in the structure of the songs. And I wanted to kind of go away from Miss Crazy
Yeah, yeah,
and Freakshow's first album because that was kind of an extension of Miss Crazy,
yeah, yeah.
right? And doing that voice that I created, you know, the Marcus voice thing, it shows up a couple times on this record.
Yeah.
It's on there a few times, but I didn't want it to be like, you know, oh, here's another Miss Crazy album, but with
Yeah,
these
yeah,
dudes.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
So
oh,
I
sure.
did some things that I didn't do on other albums, right?
I mean, that's the point me and Tom are trying to make. I want people to understand that this is not Miss Crazy. And the band's got a bit, you know, Freak Show I'm talking about, it's got a unique history. And the story, I guess, is ongoing. We'll see where it takes you from here. But that's the thing. If you listen to Miss Crazy and you listen to Freak Show, you wouldn't even know it was the same singer, maybe. And again, maybe that's a good thing about the fact that you know, you're kind of outed by whoever on Facebook about you're not really named Marcus Allen Christopher. I mean, I think it allows you to have those two separate identities.
Yeah. I mean, dude, as long as I've been doing this now and as many albums as I've done, there's no rules, man.
It's a great way to reinvent yourself, if you will, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And playing with the dudes I'm playing with right now and doing this and see how far we can take it is, you know, it's that opportunity again.
And another thing you and my co-host Tom have in common is you guys share the same publicist, Michael Branville. He's been in the business for years and used to work with Kiss. He's working with Accept and Wasp these days. So you got a lot of great people behind you pushing the band.
Yes, yes, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah. I mean, so what else is planned for Miss Crazy? Excuse me, Freak Show. See, I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, you know, we're gonna see how the album does, of course. You know, Michael's just started his campaign on what he's doing for us. So we'll see how the PR goes and, you know, how the video goes and just, you know, we'll let everyone do their thing that they're gonna do. And
Right.
and then, you know, we'll all be ready. I think we're all, you know,
Yeah.
excited to see how it goes. And, you know, if we play, we play. And if we don't, we don't. But we made a great record, you know. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
I
right
mean, so
now,
far, I mean, you know, these days, like we're saying, how different the music industry is. I mean, Def Leppard, you know, like a couple years back, their latest album went to number one, but it was number one for 1 week, and then people forgot about it. You know?
yeah, well, they need us opening for them. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, nothing against Def Leppard. I'm just saying that's kind of the state of the business, and that's why
Yeah, but Def Leppard, let me tell you something about those dudes.
yeah,
Those guys, last three records that they've done
sure, sure.
are pretty badass, man.
I mean, they're
and
one of
and
the
they,
few bands
if they
still
would have
putting out.
come out back then, they would have still skyrocketed. Like, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
they haven't lost a step at all.
Mm. I mean, I tip my hat to them because they're one of the few bands that continue, like Freak Show, to put out new music, you know, for their fans. I mean, they're definitely at a point in their career where they could say, you know, we're just going to go out and do the greatest hits every year, but they're much more than that.
Right. and I'm, I'm grateful I could play with some dudes that want to rock still,
Yeah. So again, Tom, I know very much like Ronnie, you're, being a guitar player in that, you like to a lot of times ask people about, their rig and their setup. Anything you want, any guitar type questions you want to ask them?
Yeah. What's your main guitar? I mean, I have one guitar that I love. I have multiple guitars, but I have a Strat that I love. I've had it since '86. So I'm just wondering what's your favorite guitar? Do you have a main one, or you just love to play multiple guitars?
Yeah, I have. I'm rotating between my two Eddie Van Halens.
Nice.
I play the EVH brand, so they're basically like Charvel necks, from back in the day.
Yeah.
And they're pretty fancy. So I've been going through my black and yellow one, the Van Halen 2.
Yep. Yep.
And then I'm going through and I'm playing the first one from the first album, the white with the black stripes.
Nice. What about amplifiers? What are you using for amps? What are you using for amp?
Well, I'm working on getting an EVH endorsement, so I want to do that fully. That's what I used on the record.
Right. Nice.
My studio engineer and producer had one. So when I recorded this album, I did one side with the new Eddie Van Halen 50 watt.
Yep.
And then on the other side, I used the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier.
Oh, nice.
So I had, and that's how I combined my tones. And then, so I got that kind of vibe going, and I used just my Eddie Van Halen's on basically. I used the white and black one for the whole record, basically.
Got a great guitar sound. I loved it when I was listening to it. I was like, wow, I love that tone that you had, and they're really unique.
Thanks, dude.
And the tunes are so grooving too. I mean, it's my kind of music. I just love the rock, It's just got such a great feel to it. It really does.
I did that on purpose because I wanted everyone to look at all the songs and then know what they were going to do.
Yep.
And it started with, me coming up with the riffs, but it was really cool because once Stet did his thing, I re-recorded everything to Stet, of course.
Sure.
And then it like a new life came out right away, right?
Yeah.
And then when Greg laid down his bass, it just was like, oh man, here we go. And I had that. I had me, Greg, and Stet, and I was just coming up with all the vocals and stuff to that. Nice. So I was cranking my headphones or cranking it in the car, and I just sing a bunch of bullshit,
Yeah. And it's from the heart. That's why people love it, I mean, that's why people are responding the way they are.
Yeah, and then Carlos got it all basically done, right? So by the time we gave him his tracks, he got to sit there with all the stuff, and then he just went off,
Yeah, that's amazing. That yellow guitar you talk about on the back of Van Halen 2, I don't know if you're aware that the original was buried with Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Let me ask you, Ronnie, because sadly, the news broke yesterday that LA Guns drummer Steve Riley passed away. I was curious if you ever had any encounters with him or knew him at all.
Yeah, through time. LA Guns, I was in this band right before Trixie, which turned into Trixie. It was basically, we just changed our name. And it was in Mountain View, California. We were playing this old movie theater, but they kind of converted it into a rock club. And it was their first album, and we hung out backstage, Phil Lewis and stuff. I was a teenager when I was playing that gig, but it was so killer.
Yeah.
It was cool. And then later on, in about 2002, I engineered and produced a record that for the Bullet Boys called Sophie.
Okay.
Which Andy Johns started and I ended up finishing.
Wow.
And I also kind of just managed the Bullet Boys. It's like, I'm not bragging about this or anything.
No, it's part of your story. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's nothing to brag about, but the Bullet Boys were on tour with LA Guns and they were doing this little thing and a bunch of problems happened, of course.
Yeah.
And Steven called me and he was just going off going, dude, you don't even know what's going on. I go, no, I kind of probably do.
Yeah.
But what can how can I help you? And he's just giving me this horror story, right?
Yeah. Wow.
But he was a pretty cool dude, and I know the dudes in the band, they knew him a lot better than I did.
Of course, of course. But we were just sad to hear Steve's passing. Just want to put that out
There's
there.
a lot of people that are just that's happening too.
I was at work. I was at work yesterday. I turn on YouTube and all this stuff, and I'm like, no, this can't be true. But then the more stuff starts popping up, you're like, yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
Yeah, and so you mentioned obviously you're a Van Halen fan. I was curious. It's probably hard to do this, but what is your favorite era of Van Halen? Do you have a favorite album, a go-to album where you say that, that's the sound of Van Halen. That's Van Halen to me.
Oh yeah, dude, great question again. And then let's talk about that comic book poster you have behind your.
Sure, sure. Marvel Comics. Yeah, yeah.
Let's not forget to bring that up.
Okay, sure.
But as far as that goes, yeah, the first 6 records with Roth, especially the first 5.
Yeah, no doubt.
Those ones like really just each, like if I go through each one of them,
yeah,
there's things about each one of them where you're just like, oh my God, like you say that, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're a guitar player and you know what it takes, okay, to really be good to where people even recognize you at all, right? That's why I went the songwriter route, because I mean, how can anyways, Ed Van Halen was just, everything you can, was like a guitar player's dream,
Yeah.
And even guys that come out now, like even some of these younger kids and dudes, or even the guys that have been playing forever, they all recognize, like they all know, like anytime anybody from our genre or even younger or older, when they put a list together of the dudes, Ed is always number one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a reason for that. Like, when you listen to Fair Warning and that Mean Street in the beginning, if he only ever did that, he'd be the greatest.
What I think is a lot of the guitar players bring up that album, Fair Warning. It's probably the darkest Van Halen album ever, but that apparently was when Roth and Ed weren't getting along, and Ed went and did his own thing. He wanted to do a darker album, and he did. And the guitar players, like I said, have really responded to that. And so, there's never be another Eddie. And, just think about this. I mean, poor Alex Van Halen. I mean, that's his kid brother he lost, but it had such an effect on him that he's kind of disappeared, and we haven't heard from him ever since,
I know. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys ever heard The Simple Truth or whatever. Was that what it's called? The last one? I love that album.
Yeah. The one with Tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah. I was cranking that for like a year in my truck, man.
Yeah.
Dude, the way Eddie plays on that and the rawness of that record. But I mean, those records, I mean, nothing against the Sammy stuff, because there's some incredible things that happened there. But I just didn't want it to be called Van Halen.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be called something else. And then we would all have accepted it because it was Sammy Hagar and the Van Halen band, right?
Yeah.
Just come up with some other name, even if they called themselves 5150.
Yeah. I
that
love
would have been
myself,
great.
But the raw stuff for me, I mean, especially a lot of his nonsensical lyrics, they just kind of seem to fit, and they're great, and they were what they were. And you just
listen, dude, I love Sammy Hagar. Like, from when I was a kid, when Montrose was around, where Montrose came out and I didn't even know nothing yet. Okay.
Montrose came out in 1973, 50 years ago. That album turns 50 this year.
Right. And it's like, when you listen to it, you're like, whoa, this is where Sammy Hagar started, right? And then he did that second one, which didn't do too well.
Yeah.
But then he went on his own and he became what he became. And I liked that. I liked that whole thing that he was. But then when he was in Van Halen, I liked it.
Yeah.
But it didn't have that what we got, right, with those first 6 records, even 1984 and Diver Down.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, those records, dude, are insane. Like the vocals, the guitar playing, the musicianship, it's like, over the top, man. And it just kind of went on where Van Halen became just like another one of those bands around that time, and everyone was doing their different thing, like the different Kiss and stuff.
Yeah,
And
and when Eddie died, Roth put out a statement on his Facebook page. It was just a few words, but it was so beautiful, so fitting. It's like, Ed, it was a beautiful ride, a beautiful long ride, or something like that. And he said so much with those few words. And
yeah,
yeah, and then Ronnie, before we wrap it up, you were asked about my poster. Okay, obviously I know you're a huge Kiss fan like myself. That is the Marvel Comics poster, and believe it or not, of all places, I got that ordered that off of Amazon.
nice.
Yeah, yeah,
I like it.
yeah.
I like it
So,
a lot, dude. It's
well,
fancy.
Ronnie, it was great catching up with you. I was glad that me and Tom are glad you were able to come on the show. It's about time to wrap it up because otherwise we'll get cut off. So we only got 30 minutes to do this, but we're definitely love to have you back once the album's been out a little longer. And next time
Yeah,
you want to
man.
bring some of the guys, you're welcome to. You're always welcome here. Okay.
Thanks for having me, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And it
That was
was
me,
great.
Ronnie. Good
I'll
luck,
let you know
man.
when
Good
the
luck.
interview gets posted. Okay. Thanks,
All
Ronnie.
right, guys. Thank
Bye
you so
bye.
much, man.